Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Iferia, and today's guest is Dom Brightmon. He calls himself the positive thought catalyst, but his journey wasn't just about positive thinking, it was about grinding through the doubt. Dom became a leader in Toastmasters at just 23 years old, managing people who were often twice his age. He also interviewed over 1,000 authors on his podcast, Going Not. He's here to talk about the struggle of leading when you are the youngest person in the room, why books are the only way to achieve immortality, and how to stay optimistic when life gets crappy. So, Dom, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome to FailCraft.
My man Ezekiel, man, thanks for having me on the show, man. That means something's working.
Great to have you here. So, let's dive in. Dom, you became a Toastmasters Area Director at just 23 years old. On paper, that looks like a fast track to success, but in reality, I believe leading people older than you can be quite difficult. So, did you have a specific moment where you felt like an imposter, or maybe someone refused to take you seriously because of your age?
Good question. Funny enough, it was actually probably, I'd say, a year before I became area director, where I was basically the second in command at my local club at Cadenceville Toastmasters. I was what you call the vice president of education. And the joke title is Vice President of Everything, because you're responsible for scheduling the meetings, keeping track of members' progress, seeing how they're going, encouraging them on their goals with like speeches, getting their confidence up and all that good stuff. And the thing was, that wasn't my first club. That was my second club that I joined. And everybody knew I was double dipping in both groups because, hey, another club will meet on the Wednesdays. This club wouldn't meet and vice versa. And I was just feeling down because I took on that important role, because even though on paper the president at the time for the club level, that's the most important role in terms of executive title, truth be told, is really the vice president of education. And I had a plan where basically we would schedule the meetings in advance like a roster, because my other club would do that, and we would run our meetings without a hitch. Like it would just be seamless. And the other group, Cadenceville, they really didn't pick it up too well, because the thing is, you can plan all day, but there's always going to be some things that are going to happen. Like you're going to be detoured. Like some folks wouldn't show up. They would call out at the last minute, and then I would schedule people in advance to give a speech and give a certain topic, but they didn't meet the requirements to give that topic by that time like I thought they would. And just had a coaching session with the president and I was like, hey man, like I feel like I might have bit off more than I could chew. And funny enough, he was young like me. He was probably like maybe a year or two older than me. Like we were both young guys leading the group. And I was just saying silly stuff like, man, I don't know club culture here. Like I think I may have made a mistake. He's like, no, you've been there for a year before you took on this role, man. Like you know what you're doing. You know how the culture is here at Cadenceville. You can do it. And we were able to finish off that year successfully, and that gave me the confidence at the next level when I became an area director, because the thing is, I had that experience with coaching others and helping to mentor others, because there's going to be some attrition with any group, and being able to deal with that while trying to still grow the group simultaneously to help me get to that next level. Because the thing is, if you basically build up enough confidence at one level, and then when you get to that next level, you can always just build up those miniature wins. And that's really kind of what helped me to get to that next level and actually do pretty darn decent at that level. Actually got something called distinguished club status at the end of that year, where you have an additional club that joins your area, and you basically have all of them with members that are paid, and you're basically in good standing. So it all really just paid off from really just paying my dues in a fast track type of way, if you will, at the club level, and really just communicating with others, and also listening too. Listening also pays off, because the thing is, folks may think like, hey, the football, they may hear the term coach, think of a football coach, or think of a boss as someone's always giving the orders. But to be honest, true leadership is really listening. Because if you listen more, you get to lead more effectively because people get to feel heard. And then when they get to feel heard, they get to respect you a lot more, especially when you take some action after you heard what they decided to share with you.
All right, Dom, thank you very much for sharing that with us. So, you've done over 1,000 interviews. So, you've interviewed over 1,000 authors. So, 1,000, it's quite a huge number. And in my opinion, as a podcast host would say, requires staggering consistency and resilience to go through. So, has there ever been any interview that didn't go so well? And if so, what was the lessons you learned from it?
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah. You talk to 1,000 different people, yeah, you're gonna meet some folks who, on paper, you may enjoy what they heard, but it's like, or what you see before the interview, and then come interview time, it's not so great. Funny enough, I actually had one guest in particular. I won't share their name, obviously, but I had 2 interviews that day. This was a Saturday afternoon. It was a day off from my day job at the time where I would occasionally work weekends. And the first interview went off without a hitch. She was a mindset coach all the way out in the UK. Like we probably talked for an hour. Like she was laughing, I was laughing. We were having a great time. It was to promote a
Hmm.
movie, How Thoughts Become Things. And like that interview was so great. And then that 2-hour period had a little break. Next thing I know, the guest who comes on, he was just mad from a coaching session for some strange reason where one of his clients wasn't getting what he was teaching and what he was sharing. And it kind of spilled over towards me. And next thing I know, he asked me, he's like, "Hey, so I'm kind of blind here. Are you black guy or a white guy?" And I was taken aback for a second because I'm like, that's a strange question to ask because it really shouldn't matter. And out of nowhere, when I said I was a black guy, his whole tone just changed completely. I'm like, "Okay. Don't tell me my man was indoctrinated with racism growing up blind, not seeing color." And next thing I know, I think we're 17 minutes into the interview, and next thing I know, he's probably still mad from the situation, and we just had to just cut it off, and it was like, "Hey, like, have read the book?" And I only read, like, maybe the first 30 pages. Like, on average, it's a rare occasion where I actually read the entire book before a guest shows up, especially if it's only a 2-week turnaround time. And that was back when 2 weeks was actually available on my schedule. And the thing was, like, I would listen to at least a good 2 to 3 hours of their past interviews and their conversations and read some of their book. Rare occasion I finished the book. It was like, "Hey, so how long do you think it'd take you to finish the book?" And I'm like, "Ah, sure, I could probably do that in a night." He was like, "All right, so let's do it for tomorrow." Next thing I know, I'm like, "Why am I working so hard for this?" You know what? I just decided to cut it off and then just said and just ignored that situation. Told him like, you know what? I'm not even gonna finish this book. I think it might be better we'll just cut it off here because it's obvious that you're having a bad weekend and we were gonna do it today, but I think you might need more time to cool off. Interview, like I was like, you know what? But it's okay though, because I learned that sometimes it was a great story, powerful story too. But the thing was, it's just like, sometimes it's just not worth it. Sometimes it's just not worth it. If you're not going to be respected as a fellow human being, then what's the point? Like, I'm doing this out of service to help fellow authors succeed, to promote their works, and out of nowhere, you're just going to disrespect me as a host like that. Then it's not even worth it.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Dom. So you have a philosophy which is moving from crappy to happy, which I find very interesting. So how do you stay positive without falling into toxic positivity where you fake being okay?
We get toxic masculinity, now we go to toxic positivity. That is freaking hilarious. Well, truth be told, the thing is with a positive mental attitude is really about staying positive, and I do it through my acrostic known as R.A.V.E. R-A-V-E. The R stands for reading, great material. So if you're spiritual or no matter what religion you choose, I prefer the Bible, reading a great piece of literature a day. It doesn't have to be a spiritual book if you're not spiritual. It could be an inspirational book, leadership book, motivational book, comic book, if you will. Like you could probably finish one really fast. Like sometimes you just need to give yourself a little escapism, if you will, so that way you can have yourself in a better state of mind to take on the world. And even blog posts too. Like blogs still exist. Like there's even if it was written with AI, like it's still out there. There's still great reading material out there. The A stands for audio immersion. So for those listening to this great show, Failcast, and tapping into some of the setbacks that folks had and helped them to turn the setup into a success, you're doing a good job already. Basically, listening to great material that'll really help you to better yourself and it'll help keep you in that peak positive state. The V stands for visual stimulation. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, be sure to do so. My man's got some great content here on Failcast. Also, watching other great videos. And heck, even back in my days as when I was practicing Taekwondo, I would look up certain videos from certain martial artists so that way I can practice my forms at home. So that way I wouldn't look too bad in class. And the thing is just like making sure that your entertainment time doesn't supersede your education time in terms of the visual stimulation. And then the E, which is probably one of the most powerful ones, is encouragement. And it's not just encouraging others, it's encouraging yourself too, because if you're living and breathing, you need encouragement. And this really came to me when I was publishing my first book, Going North, because I was thinking, like, hey, I got to think of a simple way to really synthesize what I do daily. And that's what I do every day. I read something good, something positive. I listen to something good, something positive every day, especially music. It could be rock, it could be hip hop, it could be synthwave music, it could be city pop music. The visual stimulation, always watching something good. Like, hey, there's some podcasts out there that are great. Not just the Going North podcast. There could be Lewis House School of Greatness in addition to FailCraft. Like, there's so many good things out there to catch. And then encourage it. Like, challenging myself to encourage or compliment 5 random people a day is something I'd like to do daily because you never know who needs it. Someone could be going through a tough time and they'll be like, "Oh, no, thanks. Nice. I'm glad you like these shoes. These things are old. Like I just rarely wear them. Like, yeah, they look like they're still fresh out the box." Like just random compliments and acts of encouragement just to really encourage others and then encouraging yourself because some days you're going to feel like you're not doing it. Because the thing is with having a positive mindset is not seeing the whole world as filled with sugar and rainbows. It's still acknowledging that there is some evil out there, there's some bad out there, but you're not gonna let that keep you down permanently. It's all about really just using it to focus on, "Oh, let me focus on what I can control as opposed to what I can't control," because, like, with some things out there with certain world leaders going on in the earth, like, hey, that's their decisions that they made. Some were selected and probably not by me, definitely, but I can't be mad at that situation. I have to focus on what I can do in my square as opposed to focusing on the entire world because I'm not Superman here in real life. Like, hey, I'm not an invincible man from Krypton powered by the sun. I'm not going to save everybody. Like, let me focus on what I can do right here. So that's what
Mm.
helps keep me positive.
All right. So let's talk about the topic of immortality. So you talk about joining the business of immortality by writing a book. Why do you believe that a book is the most important thing a person can leave behind?
Yes, 2 things. I forgot the guy who was originally where this quote came from. There are 3 things that a person should have in to really help themselves to have immortality in life. It's to plant a tree, have a child, and publish a book. And there was another thing where it sticks out to me stronger, a book I recommend folks to pick up, The 7 Lost Secrets of Success by Dr. Joe Vitale. In the start of the book, he talks about Bruce Barton, this famous entrepreneur back in the early 1900s, and he published multiple books, especially one called The Man That Nobody Knows. And it was talking about Jesus from a businessman's perspective and how Jesus was actually probably the most legendary businessman on earth because of the certain things in the way he carried himself and just using examples from the Bible to prove his points and how that book is still being sold today, as well as a couple of others like the book that nobody knows and things like that. And he basically had immortality because his thoughts in terms of what he thought about life and certain religious figures is still alive today. Like, even though you're not physically here, if you publish your work, especially if it's a nonfiction work, really just sharing your thoughts and opinions and expressing them out in the world. Folks get to have a piece of you long after you're gone. And that's the thing, like they say the pen is mightier than the sword. Like there's a reason why there's laws out there once put into action, like they stay around for a long time. The Bible been around for hundreds of years, probably the best-selling book of all time. The Harry Potter series for decades, billions of books sold all time. Like there's so many books out there that are older than both of us combined that are still being sold today. Think and Grow Rich. That book is probably almost 100 years old now. How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book is probably close to, I want to say, at least 80 to 90 years old now. Like there's just so many books out there that have stood the test of time, even though the author's not here. Their thoughts and what they experienced in life to help others can still help us today. So that's really what Immortality is all about. It's just really leaving a piece of yourself and putting it out there in the world, some content that folks can really check out and devour later to really help them to continue to live on and push on in their lives moving forward.
All right. That was indeed a fantastic response, Dom. So, for the listener right now who is in a leadership position but feels unqualified or too young, perhaps, so what's the first thing they need to do to earn the respect of the room?
I'd have to say making sure that, and it depends if you had your first meeting or not, but usually if it's your first meeting, especially with the whole entire group, depending on where you are, department, whatever job you're in, usually it's best to say less and then listen more. Like listening is really what keeps me going, especially in my early years of youth leadership, and still young because I'm not even 40 yet, not even 85 either. So I'm still young myself. But definitely being open ears, like we have two ears, one mouth for a reason. That classic saying, like making sure you listen effectively. Also, making sure that you connect with the most powerful people in the room and those who've been there for a bit before you may have the influence. Like keep your eyes open to who has the influence in the room because sometimes you may, like me in particular, with the day job situation, I've basically transferred to another location and I've just been making myself readily available to do as many things as possible, volunteering for a lot of things, and just really listening to see who has really that influence in the room and who's the most skilled at what they do. Like who's the go-to person? Like, okay, what do they know? And just seeing how you can emulate them. And also asking questions too, not being afraid to ask questions, like and also finding a mentor too. And if you can, depending on the organization, maybe even ask for a mentor, or if you have a certain position, ask who had the job before you and see if you can contact that person, see how they did, especially if you still hear some of the colleagues during conversations mentioning that person's name. It's like, oh yeah, that Mike guy, he was great, man. That Ezekiel dude was freaking awesome, man. He was so calm, he could solve problems so darn fast, like he would have the answer in a flash. It's like, hey, if you hear the name of that person, then making sure that you basically contact them and then pick their brain for that knowledge too. So basically listen effectively, see who has a lot of influence in the room, who's been around for a good bit, and then finding out whoever took the job before you if you didn't do that part yet, and see what they did to have success and try to emulate that for yourself.
Okay, thanks for sharing those really great tips. So, Dom, I have a personal question for you. So, after interviewing 1,000 successful people and building your own platform, I'd like to know, what does being successful truly mean to you now?
Being successful truly means to me is being able to be self-aware and have that level of self-mastery. Because you get to learn about yourself through a process. The podcasting world, I've been in it for 8 years now, which is still crazy to say.
Wow.
And yeah, and 1,000 episodes, like heck, even on average, 150 plus episodes in a year. Like, like just the fact that it's like, man, did more episodes in 1 year that some people don't even do in the lifetime of their podcast. They give up after 10. It's like just being able to lock in and find that focus and stick with something is really just powerful. So really just being able to have a higher level of self-awareness to self-mastery where you're basically like, all right, I'm learning, I'm always growing, I'm feeling better than before, and I'm just still growing. So really success is truly just that self-awareness to self-mastery, and that just involves always growing because that'll truly get you some joy and some happiness. Like, so always move forward, have that growth mindset.
Okay, so it's been a great time having a conversation with you, Dom. Finally, for our listeners who want to go connect with you, learn more about you, listen to your podcast, Going North, or get your any other free resources that you offer. So, where is the best place for them to go?
Sure thing. The best place for folks to go is to go to dombrightmon.com. That's dombrightmon.com. All things Dom centrally is there, especially with social media profiles too. So if you want to follow me on social media, it's all on Dom Brightmon. So easy branding, easy to find me. Google's doing a pretty decent job at putting me up there when they Google my name. So yeah, check it all out on dombrightmon.com.
Great, great, great. Dom, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Like I said, it's been a really interesting time with you, and I am very excited and honored to have you on the show today, sir.
Hey, thanks a bunch for having me on, man. You the man, Ezekiel.
Thank you very much.